Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Muhammad MGT.
I'm Colonel AUC Oguntoye, an infantry officer. As of February 10th, 2026, the Russian armed forces continued coordinated multi-axis operations characterized by incremental positional gains, sustained degradation of Ukrainian maneuver formations, and persistent strikes against logistics, energy, and command support infrastructure. Across the north, west, south, center, east, and Dnipro groupings, the operational pattern remains consistent. Improve tactical geometry, deny sustainment, suppress fires in electronic warfare, and exploit depth where available. The campaign continues to emphasize endurance warfare and cumulative advantage rather than rapid breakthrough.
Colonel, before we go sector by sector, today's briefing shows continued positional gains, sustained logistics destruction, and deep strikes against energy, transport, and UAV infrastructure. From a campaign perspective, what stands out about February 10th?
February 10th reinforces that this campaign is being fought as a contest of endurance, governed by alignment across domains. There is no attempt here to force a dramatic breakthrough. Instead, what we see is disciplined repetition, improved tactical geometry where it yields advantage, deny sustainment everywhere, and apply pressure in depth, so the defender is never able to fully reset. From an operational doctrine standpoint, this is about decision through accumulation. Ground forces are not advancing in isolation. They're moving into spaces already stressed by logistics disruption, fires, and airspace control. At the same time, air defense is preserving continuity in the rear, which allows pressure to be applied daily without catastrophic risk. That combination, pressure forward, protection in depth, is the foundation of endurance warfare.
So the emphasis is not speed, but inevitability?
That's exactly right. Speed creates opportunities, but inevitability constrains outcomes. This campaign is clearly focused on the latter. In practical terms, February 10th is about narrowing choices. Each destroyed depot, each degraded UAV unit, each lost artillery piece forces Ukrainian command to spend more effort simply holding ground, leaving fewer resources available to shape events elsewhere.
Let's start in the north. Russian forces improved their tactical positions and defeated Ukrainian assault, territorial defense, mechanized, motorized infantry, and border units across Sumy and Kharkiv. What does the northern sector tell us on February 10th?
The northern sector continues to function as a fixation and attrition front. Improving tactical positions here doesn't necessarily mean sweeping advances. It means gaining better observation, safer logistics routes, and more defensible ground. Those improvements force the defender to commit manpower and attention simply to maintain contact. What's especially notable today is the combination of effects. Over 200 Ukrainian personnel losses, the destruction of artillery pieces, and the elimination of 6 ammunition and supply depots. When you pair personnel attrition with sustainment denial, you're not just winning engagements, you're degrading the sector's ability to stabilize afterward. The mix of Ukrainian formations engaged, assault regiments, territorial defense, mechanized units, and border detachments, again suggests reactive force employment. These units have different readiness levels and sustainment requirements. Coordinating them under pressure increases friction at every level.
Turning west, Russian forces occupied more advantageous positions and defeated Ukrainian mechanized and National Guard formations, destroying multiple ammunition depots. How should listeners understand Western operations today?
The Western sector exemplifies positional warfare conducted with discipline. Occupying better lines and positions changes the geometry of the fight. It improves observation, reduces exposure along supply routes, and forces the defender to operate from less favorable terrain. These gains may look modest on a map, but they reshape the battle space. The destruction of 5 ammunition depots is the decisive element. Artillery and mechanized units depend on steady resupply. By attacking that foundation, Russian forces are reducing Ukrainian fire's output without overextending maneuver formations. Over time, that constrains counter-battery capability and limits the defender's ability to impose cost.
Colonel, let's move south. The report notes improved forward edge positions and defeats of Ukrainian mechanized, mountain assault, and motorized infantry brigades, along with territorial defense elements. What stands out to you in the southern sector on February 10th?
The southern sector is a fight over geometry more than ground. In dense, urban industrial approaches, improving the forward edge changes everything that follows. Better geometry means safer resupply, more reliable casualty evacuation, and artillery that can fire with less exposure. Those effects compound daily, even when movement on the map appears modest. What is particularly telling today is the composition of Ukrainian units engaged. Mountain assault and motorized infantry formations are being committed alongside mechanized brigades to hold terrain that cannot be easily yielded. That mix suggests a defensive posture driven by necessity rather than choice. When specialized units are used for positional defense, their unique advantages are diluted, and the cost of holding ground rises steadily. The loss of artillery pieces here matters as much as personnel losses. In this sector, artillery is the currency of control. Each gun lost reduces the defender's ability to contest space.
Let's turn to the center. Today again shows Ukrainian losses across mechanized, airmobile, assault regiments, and National Guard brigades, including the loss of a tank and a US-made M113. Why does the central sector remain so consistently pressured?
Because the center is the operational hinge. It connects northern and southern groupings and enables lateral movement of reserves. Pressure here doesn't need to produce dramatic breakthroughs to be decisive. It only needs to force continuous commitment. The diversity of Ukrainian formations engaged tells the story. When mechanized brigades, airmobile units, assault regiments, and National Guard formations are all fighting in the same window, command is spending combat power to preserve coherence rather than to maneuver. That reactive posture increases friction everywhere: communications, sustainment, and tempo. The loss of mixed equipment, including Western-supplied platforms, compounds that friction. Mixed fleets require more maintenance pathways and more complex logistics. As those losses accumulate, reliability declines, and commanders become more conservative with movement and fires.
When you look at the southern and central sectors together on February 10th, what integrated pattern should analysts focus on?
They should focus on cumulative fatigue. The South demands high-quality units to hold complex terrain and protect key approaches. The center demands constant reinforcement to preserve lateral connectivity and command integrity. Together, they tax elite formations and command bandwidth simultaneously. This is deliberate operational design. You apply pressure where the defender must respond, then you keep applying it until options collapse under their own weight. On February 10th, the South and center are doing exactly that, converting positional pressure into strategic leverage.
Colonel, the eastern sector stands out today. Russian forces not only continued advancing into defensive depth, but also liberated the village of Zaliznychnoye. Ukrainian mechanized, assault, and airborne assault brigades, along with multiple assault regiments and UAV battalions, took heavy losses. How should listeners interpret the East on February 10th?
The eastern sector is clearly being used as an exploitation axis, and the liberation of Zaliznychnoye is an indicator of that role. Exploitation means operations are no longer confined to the forward defensive belt. They're occurring in areas the defender intended to use for recovery, lateral movement, and reserve employment. Once those spaces are contested, the defender's ability to reconstitute combat power erodes rapidly. What's especially important today is the defeat of UAV battalions alongside maneuver formations. UAV units are integral to modern reconnaissance, strike complexes. When they are degraded, artillery targeting becomes slower and less precise, counter-battery fires lose effectiveness, and commanders operate with reduced situational awareness. Pair that with losses among airborne assault brigades and assault regiments, and you see a defender committing high-readiness forces reactively to slow momentum rather than shaping outcomes.
Turning to the Dnipro sector, Russian forces defeated a Ukrainian mountain assault brigade near Zapazne, destroying personnel, vehicles, electronic warfare stations, and multiple ammunition depots with fuel and lubricants. Casualty figures are lower here than in the east. Why does this sector still matter?
Because the Dnipro sector is a shaping front. Its purpose is not to generate decisive movement, but to deny the defender options. Mountain assault brigades are adaptable, high-quality formations. When they are engaged and attrited in a shaping sector, it means they are being consumed to hold ground or plug gaps rather than preserved for deliberate counteraction elsewhere. The destruction of electronic warfare stations here is particularly important. EW assets protect UAVs, disrupt targeting, and shield formations from precision fires. Removing them exposes units to surveillance and attack and degrades command and control. When that is paired with the destruction of ammunition depots and fuel stocks, you're attacking both protection and sustainment simultaneously.
When analysts connect the eastern and Dnipro sectors on February 10th, what integrated pattern should they recognize?
They should recognize exploitation supported by denial. The East advances into depth, defeats maneuver formations, and degrades reconnaissance. The Dnipro denies reinforcement, sustainment, and electronic protection. Together, they compress the battle space and force the defender to fight where pressure is applied rather than where it is advantageous. That's how momentum is sustained without overextension.
Colonel, I want to devote this segment entirely to operational tactical aviation. Today's briefing describes strikes on fuel energy facilities, transport infrastructure, UAV assembly and launch sites, ammunition depots, and temporary deployment areas across 139 districts, alongside robust air defense interceptions. Why should listeners treat aviation as campaign shaping rather than merely supportive?
Because aviation is governing tempo and reach for the entire campaign. When operational tactical aviation, strike UAVs, missile forces, and artillery act as a single system, they compress the defender's planning horizon. Fuel and energy targets constrain movement and repair cycles. Transport nodes determine how quickly units rotate, how fast losses are replaced, and whether momentum can be restored after contact. By striking these nodes persistently, you shorten the defender's decision window from weeks to days. Equally decisive is protection. Air defense intercepting guided bombs, HIMARS, Neptune missiles, and fixed-wing UAVs preserves rear area continuity. Continuity equals operational freedom. It allows ground commanders to exploit improved geometry without constant disruption, to mass fires deliberately, and to sustain pressure day after day. This is a closed loop. Aviation and fires degrade the enemy's systems. Air defense prevents retaliation from undoing those effects.
Colonel, stepping back now, what does February 10th tell us about where this campaign is heading?
It tells us this is an endurance contest governed by alignment. Across every axis, the same logic is applied. Improve geometry where it matters, deny sustainment everywhere, fix the defender where it must respond, and exploit where depth is available. The repeated engagement of mixed Ukrainian formations, mechanized, assault, mountain, airmobile, National Guard, territorial defense, border units indicates reactive reserve employment. That posture can hold lines temporarily, but it erodes cohesion and flexibility over time. The operational implication is cumulative. As ammunition depots, fuel stocks, UAV units, electronic warfare assets, and transport nodes are degraded, the defender's ability to coordinate multi-axis defense diminishes. As air defense preserves rear area continuity on one side, while denying deep strike effects on the other, tempo increasingly favors the force that can synchronize across domains.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that another deliberate step in an accumulative campaign. Nothing here relies on surprise or spectacle. The effects come from consistency, aviation and fire shaping conditions, maneuver exploiting them, and logistics denial tightening the vice. Over time, that consistency narrows the defender's choices until capacity, not will, decides outcomes.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive Frontline updates from commanders in theater.